It all started with a strange little thing, but that little thing opened the door to a truth I didn't want to know. You will definitely be shocked to find out how the whole situation turned out at the end of the story. It started with a shift, not a blow, not a scream, just a whisper of something off. Emily had always talked about going back to school, and when she started night classes in psychology, I didn't think twice. I worked 24-hour shifts at Station 6. The hours are long, the risks real, and I never wanted to be the kind of husband who clipped his wife's wings. But little things started piling up. New perfume, not the warm vanilla scent she always wore, but something sharper, floral, foreign. Her old backpack disappeared, replaced with sleek leather and gold buckles. And one night while she showered, curiosity got the better of me. I peeked inside. Tucked among her textbooks was a velvet pouch holding a bottle of perfume, half empty. I'd never seen her wear it. Not once. Then came Sammy's question. We were brushing her hair before school. She was rambling about snack day when she said, "Why does Mom say she's working if we saw her with a man at the park on Thursday?" The words slammed into my chest like a backdraft. I smiled, said maybe it was a coworker. Then I kissed her forehead and sent her off to class. But that night I lay awake. The ceiling fan clicked in its rhythm, but I couldn't sleep. Something gnawed at me. The next day I saw it. Her phone lit up on the counter while she cooked. A contact name, Trainer. The icon? A man in a white button-down shirt, laughing. He looked like the kind of guy who said too much with a smirk. Trainer. Right, I didn't ask. I stored it and waited. That weekend, she came home late from a group study session, said she had a migraine, but she was glowing, and on her ears were small platinum hoops I'd never seen before. "Oh," she said casually, "won them in a giveaway." I walked into the kitchen and laughed, not loud, just dry and bitter and joyless. That kind of laugh you hear when everything inside goes cold. The next morning I drove out to Roy's place, an old friend, now a medical examiner. I asked him to run a DNA test for Jason, my son, 6 years old, the boy who'd ridden on my shoulders through Braves games and built Lego cities in our basement. 3 days later, the call came. "Trav, he's not yours." The words didn't make sense at first, but then they settled. And what settled with them wasn't pain. It was silence and resolve. I didn't blow up, didn't throw things or scream. Instead, I started planning. I brought her flowers, booked us a reservation at a little bistro downtown, bought a new kitchen set and told her it was a fresh start. In the background, I opened a new bank account, installed Alexa recorders and set them to sync everything to the cloud. I logged into her laptop when she forgot to close it and began tracing everything. That's when I found him, the man in the white shirt, not a trainer, a plastic surgeon from Miami, high profile, sleek, probably smug enough to think nothing could touch him. That's when I sent the screenshots, every filthy message, every explicit photo, every detail, to a list of his clients, and to the Florida Medical Board, and a handful of forms that track botched surgeries and malpractice claims. His license was under review by the time Emily's business website launched. She'd been planning a new brand, something about women's empowerment, as if her hands weren't drenched in betrayal. She had a photo shoot booked, promo deals lined up, and I smiled through all of it. Told her she was radiant, helped pick out her outfit, she packed her ring light and props, told me she'd be back late, and I just waited, because her spotlight was about to hit a different kind of stage. She came back glowing. Her smile was rehearsed, her cheeks flushed, hair perfectly curled like the moment she stepped out of some influencer's studio. She set her bag down and walked into the kitchen, chatting about how successful her shoot was, how many engagements her post was already getting. I nodded, played along, even offered to make her a drink. She said she was too tired, but she kissed my cheek before disappearing upstairs. Behind her, the echo of her heels still bounced off the walls. I stood there in the kitchen with the scent of her perfume in the air, staring at the glass she hadn't used. My hands were steady, movements calm, because now I knew where the cracks were and how to split them wide open. The next morning I logged into her cloud. She'd used Alexa to set reminders, What she didn't realize was that every voice command, every calendar entry, was syncing with my private archive. I'd installed a parallel path into our shared smart home system. She had messages saved to herself, little reminders, names, dates. One stuck out. MD, Coral Gables. Check-in, May 11th, check-out, May 13th. She wasn't going for a shoot this time. This was a retreat, a self-care trip. She'd even told me she needed time to reset her energy. Right. Spa robes and private balconies. The same hotel that appeared in her lover's Instagram 2 weeks earlier. Geo-tagged on a story he forgot to delete fast enough. By the time she was on her flight, I had her business partner's email from a shared spreadsheet on her laptop. I created a burner account and sent a sample of the messages. Just enough to cause panic, but not enough to give away my identity. The woman replied 3 hours later, a single line. "What the hell is this?" She'd find out soon enough. Then came the house. I had a locksmith change the interior locks on the office door while Emily was out. I told her it was for security, that I'd noticed someone had been in our mailbox. She didn't ask questions. She was too busy arranging her new desk and ordering fresh wall art that read, "She believed she could, so she did." It would look great behind police tape. I forwarded everything to our attorney. Well, my attorney, the one I'd retained weeks ago. I hadn't served her yet. That moment would come later. First, I needed her to feel invincible, to lean into the lie, to believe it was safe. The more comfortable she got, the sloppier her world became. At night, she began humming in the shower. She cooked more often, started calling me babe again. I let her. I responded the way I always had. She'd started to forget how dead my voice had gone underneath. Her guilt made her generous, and I let her give. The camera in the living room caught it all, her on FaceTime with him when she thought I was asleep. She sat with her knees pulled up, whispering. Her lips mouthed words I didn't need to hear to understand. He called her M, and she laughed like she hadn't in years. The next day, I contacted 2 of his past clients, the ones whose surgeries he'd botched. Women who'd complained online but hadn't had the strength to pursue legal action. I showed them the pictures, the messages, his misconduct, both professional and personal. I didn't even need to convince them. They were already angry. I just gave their rage a target. 2 weeks later, his clinic suspended appointments, an internal review, his social media vanished. Then a notice from the Florida Board of Medicine. Investigation opened. Emily hadn't said a word. She still thought her world was intact. But I saw it, how her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore, how she triple-checked her phone before speaking, how she paused when I asked about her next trip. The house was too quiet, too careful. She felt something in the air. She just couldn't place it. Then came her pitch meeting. She'd rented a small venue downtown, invited a handful of influencers, some local press, maybe even a minor reality TV guest, someone from a baking show, I think. She wanted to make a splash, to launch her brand with confidence and fire. And I let her. I helped her with the printer when her cards got jammed. I ordered pastries for her table. I even fixed a strap on her custom roll-up banner. "You're a lifesaver," she whispered. Number, just a man who finally understood how fire spreads. That morning, while she posed in front of her new business banner, the surprise arrived. A live string quartet walked up outside the venue. A photographer I'd hired followed them, taking pictures as they set up just behind the floor-to-ceiling glass window. Then came the sign, slowly unfurled from behind the musicians by 2 local actors I paid in cash. "Congratulations to Atlanta's Mother of the Year. As for Dad, still searching." Her smile froze. A dozen phones pointed in her direction. Some gasps, some laughter. A couple of people stepped back, unsure if it was a prank. But it wasn't. Not when her ex-partner stormed in 15 minutes later, red-faced, demanding answers in front of everyone. By nightfall, the photos were circulating online. She came home shaking, slammed the door open, still in heels, crying, screaming, broken sentences pouring from her mouth. She shouted my name like I was supposed to answer, but I was already prepared. I walked downstairs and handed her a sealed envelope. Divorce papers, custody claim attached, and another set of documents, evidence of fraud. She'd falsified financial statements last year to apply for tax-based assistance. Probably thought no one would ever find out. I didn't say a word. Just watched the color drain from her face. She dropped into the nearest chair, trembling. Her voice was gone. No defense left. Outside, the wind kicked up. A storm was coming in. Fitting. And as lightning crawled across the glass behind her, I turned and walked out of the room. This wasn't revenge yet. This was only the warning shot. She didn't open the envelope right away. Just held it like it might vanish if she waited long enough. Her fingers trembled at the seal, eyes wide but blank, like her brain had left the room and left her body behind to deal with the wreckage. She collapsed into the chair like a building giving way beneath rot, her mouth moving but no sound coming out. I said nothing. I didn't need to. The damage was already done, and she knew it. That night, she didn't try to follow me when I took the guest room. No knock on the door, no apology whispered through wood grain. The only sound I heard was the light tread of her feet pacing the kitchen after midnight and the clink of glass when she poured herself something to drink. I imagined her staring into the dark with her phone in her lap, refreshing pages, checking calls that wouldn't come. Because the surgeon, the one she thought she was in love with, he was already gone. By morning, he'd vanished from social media, his business page locked down, and the address listed as temporarily closed. His office had gone under investigation the same week his assistant quit. She was one of the women I'd sent files to. Photos, screenshots, malpractice reports. She didn't hesitate to take the rest and run. And Emily, she felt it. She came down in the morning still in her robe, phone in hand, eyes red like she hadn't slept. Her hair a mess, no makeup. She looked like a woman watching her castle burn. "Did you?" she started. I didn't answer. She didn't finish. That weekend, she tried salvaging what was left of her business image, changed her profile photo, deleted all pictures of us together, and posted something about healing and new beginnings. A few pity comments, some friends telling her she was strong. But 2 days later, her inbox was full of refund requests. Turns out you can't preach empowerment while your name's attached to an ethics investigation and half the city's talking about a public humiliation banner. People were digging, and the more they looked, the uglier it got. Meanwhile, I made sure her downfall stayed clean, legal, and permanent. The financial fraud she committed to apply for business grants, already submitted to state authorities with attachments and bank trail screenshots. A quiet fraud case in motion. No flashy headlines yet, but the noose was tightening, slowly, perfectly. She didn't know it yet, but she was already losing custody. The lawyer I hired moved fast. I had evidence lined up, her extended absences, the fake work trips, the unreported cash she'd moved around to hide her second life. Combined with the recordings from Alexa, it was enough to make her look like exactly what she was, a distracted mother trying to juggle a fantasy while her kid came second. She broke down the night the court summons arrived, screamed my name through the hallway like it would change something. She begged for a conversation, just a few minutes, said she didn't want to fight in front of Sammy, said she didn't understand how I could turn so cold. But cold doesn't happen overnight. It builds over months, years, in every silent dinner, every fake work call, every lie. She just never noticed me freezing until she tried to reach out and realized I was already made of ice. I didn't raise my voice. I never did. I just handed her a second envelope. This one with a detailed breakdown of the custody agreement we were seeking. Primary residence, with me. Visitation, reviewed after 6 months, contingent on counseling. She stared at it like she couldn't read the words. Her voice cracked when she said, "You can't do this." I looked her dead in the eye. I already did. She left that night, claimed she needed space to think, packed 2 bags, drove to her sister's house across town, probably thinking she'd win sympathy, maybe convince someone to play referee. But I knew her sister, and her sister had a husband who also received the screenshots. So when Emily called the next day crying, saying her sister wasn't being supportive, I just told her I'd keep Sammy home for the week. She didn't argue. For the next few days, the house was quiet, calm, peaceful in a way I hadn't felt in years. Sammy and I cooked breakfast together, built pillow forts, watched movies late into the night without tiptoeing around tension. I never said a bad word about her mother. I didn't need to. Truth does the speaking when the lies collapse. But I wasn't done. Her next event, the one she rescheduled to rebrand, was coming up. A wellness pop-up, supposed to launch her new women's coaching series. She changed the name, new logo, new venue, a last-ditch effort to claw something back from the wreckage. She'd invited everyone. She wanted redemption, and I had a plan to make sure no one forgot who she really was. The venue was one of those minimalist places, white walls, exposed beams, the kind of space where people pose beside hand-lettered signs and overpriced flower walls pretending their lives aren't in freefall. Emily had spent weeks pretending she was rebuilding. She changed her branding, called herself a resilience coach, claimed she'd turned her pain into power. And in a way, she had. She just didn't know it wasn't hers anymore. The day of the event, she wore white. Fitted blazer, matching heels, hair curled in a way she used to say for anniversaries. I could see it in the pictures she posted before it started. Her smile wide, manic, lips trembling at the edges, like the facade was already peeling. The venue filled with carefully selected guests, women she thought looked up to her. Local influencers, a blogger or two, and a small camera crew she hired for promo content. She was ready to rise from the ashes, and I was ready to light the match. 15 minutes before she took the mic, the music started outside. Live, a full brass quartet, right in front of the venue's glass front wall. Loud enough that everyone inside stopped and turned. At first, there was confusion. Some thought it was a surprise. Cameras swung toward the window. Guests stepped toward the glass. Then the banner dropped. 10 feet wide. Bright white background. Big block letters. Mother of the Year. As for Dad, still searching. The phrase hit the crowd like a spark on dry leaves. Laughter, gasps, phones everywhere. Even her camera crew caught it, front and center. Some thought it was a joke. Others didn't. People started filming her instead, zooming in on her frozen face. Someone asked, "Is this part of the show?" She couldn't speak. Her partner, who'd promised to show up for the rebrand, turned and walked out the side door without saying a word. Others followed. The music kept playing. She stood alone at the front of the venue, holding her note cards with shaking hands. Eyes glassy, knees locked. She didn't finish the speech. That evening, she showed up at my house, didn't knock, just walked straight in and slammed the door behind her, like the storm outside was safer than what she'd left behind. "You humiliated me," she screamed, eyes bloodshot, mascara smudged like war paint. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a court packet already waiting. "I lost everything. Everything I built." I slid the paper toward her. She hesitated before taking it. "You don't get to ruin my life just because—" I cut her off, slow and flat. "You ruined your life. I just opened the window so the smoke could get out." She stared down at the packet. The court ruling. Divorce finalized. Custody granted. Sole. Fraud charges pending. She tried to tear the paper in half, but her hands trembled too much. The fire had already done its job. "You were supposed to love me," she whispered, voice hollow. "I did," I said, "and you buried it in a hotel bed." She didn't reply, just dropped the paper on the table and walked out without another word. No apology, no final plea. Just silence and the sound of her heels cracking across the porch as she disappeared into the night. 3 months later, I stood on the deck of a cabin in North Carolina, high in the mountains where the fog hangs low in the morning and the air smells like pine and rain. The kids were inside, sprawled on the couch with a movie playing. A rescue dog snored beside the fireplace. A guitar leaned against the wall near my chair, and in my hand, her letter. "I ruined everything. I'm sorry," it read. Her handwriting looked smaller now, like even the paper wanted distance from her. She talked about regret and growth and one day hoping to earn back your forgiveness. I read it once, just once. Then I fed it to the fire. I didn't do it with a smile. I didn't need to. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about peace, because I already forgave, but not for her, for me. That's all for now, folks. Thank you for being with me today and listened. And if you liked my story, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below what you think about all this and what would you do if you were me. Also, don't forget to check my other stories in description below.